This is my last practice before my talk. Death is like a shapeshifter. It comes in any form it wants and at any time it wants. We all know that. I've seen death's violent side where it showed up like a bomb, shattering my life, exploding, causing confusion, agony, denial, shock. It came violently for my husband and took him instantaneously, leaving destruction trailing behind. 1 minute life looked one way, and the next, our lives were unrecognizable. I've also seen death's softer side, surprisingly, more recently, like a candle flame, flickering gently at the bedside of our mom, after she suffered a major stroke. She was lying in the hospital, eyes closed, comfortable, and death was waiting patiently. Mom's life was long and well lived. As death waited, we all had the opportunity to say goodbye. We were expecting this. It's the way life is supposed to go, right? She was 85. But that doesn't lessen the impact of that moment and the fact that we were going to lose her forever. And once death became impatient, it blew out her light, as well as the candle. And as the candle smoke wafted up into the air like a ribbon, it collected her soul and took it with her until we couldn't see it anymore, gone forever. 14 years ago, my late husband died. That day began with a request. I had asked for suicide. I'd asked for divorce, excuse me. The day ended with his answer. He took his own life. So take a minute there. It's very complicated. I know it's not my fault. But trauma, grief, and guilt are very messy. I'm wearing this belt from our wedding. It's what I wore. And I should say, this was my mother's. I'm carrying a piece of both of them with me today. But wading through all the muck, I found some gems of gold. Part of my story, and part of his story as I believe it to be. I call his death a horrific tragedy. And after I found those nuggets, I made a promise to him, my first promise. I made a promise that there had to be a silver lining from his death. And that's why I'm standing here in front of you today, to share our story, his story, in the hope that it might help someone else. Because talking about mental health and depression and suicide isn't what causes suicide. Not talking about it does. This talk isn't about suicide. It's about my grief and tragedy. My mom's death, on the other hand, was gentler. My father, who was by her side for 70 years, if you can imagine, he calls her death a tragic blessing. Two polar opposite tragedies. Mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's 5 years ago, and after she was diagnosed, I made my second promise. I promised I would spend as much time with my parents as I could. I promised I would help as much as I could. I promised I would not be a helicopter kid, as my dad described my sister and I, and all of my brothers. And I did all those things, and I have no regrets. After Scott's death, I felt like I was in a tunnel. Claustrophobic, constricted. At times I couldn't breathe. I was just trying to get through it, get to the other side. My mom's death was completely opposite, just like their tragedies. I had been grieving her over the 5 years since her diagnosis of Alzheimer's. They call that disease the long goodbye for a reason. It's a progression. You watch your loved ones slip away. It's in lost memories. It's in their inability to recall their brilliance. They remember things from years past, but they can't remember if they took a pill or if they ate breakfast. And it's very sad to watch that decline. And even sadder, it's when they realize they're declining. Often my mom would say, I'm losing my mind. I should just die. You would all be better off without me. Those were the real heartbreaking moments. But as conversations stopped landing, the last time I was with her, we stopped talking to each other because words didn't matter. And she was okay with that. For someone who used to love to talk, it was really a change. But I found that my love for her grew stronger as I was helping care for her. And she allowed it, which she never did before. And it was special in a weird way. The last time we sat on the couch without talking, she let me hold her hand. And Penny was by her side, their dog, always. We used to joke that she loved Penny the most. But my love was pure, unadorned, special. It was too late to try to fix Scott and my relationship. It was impossible. I tried to fix my mom's problem, but it didn't take long to realize there was no fixing. Both of those experiences taught me how precious attention is, how devastating lack of attention is. The rupture of Scott's death, I had to learn how to pick up pieces, trying to find the missing ones, never finding them, and having to accept that was going to be the case. And this was my new normal. We've all probably felt that, right? My mom's death taught me about devotion. That love's a decision. That love is showing up even when it's difficult. I have no regrets there. I did all of that. Now, I'm making my final promise to me, because as my grief and as death shows up in my life, I'm promising not to analyze or judge it, because it's life. It's going to happen. When I was coping and I learned that coping's not healing, I realized I had to take time to heal. I had to make time to heal. And I'm doing that. We're all doing that here by being here. We're all doing that now, and it's beautiful. But part of that healing I found is when the grief does appear, I need to stop and pause, not keep moving forward or thinking, what do I need to do next? What I need to do next is just stop and allow the grief, the discomfort, which is really hard because we don't like to feel pain. And ask myself, what do I need in this moment? Is it to call a friend? Is it to take a hot bath? Is it to get a massage? Hopefully it's not drink a bottle of vodka. It's doing something to help our grief process. And vodka is just pushing the grief down. It's not addressing it. And also judging if I'm not having any grief. As with my mom, I'm having very little grief, and it makes me think, wow, what's going on? I loved my mom. Does that mean I didn't love her? Of course not. It's just allowing grief to show up, and maybe it'll show up later. So maybe when grief is showing up for you, try to stop and pause and ask yourself, what do you need in that moment? And be good to yourself. And don't judge that moment. It is what it is. I can't change the way Scott or my mother's lives ended. But I can vow, I guess that's another promise. 4. I can vow to keep their memories with me and carry them through my life and share until death comes for me in whatever form that's going to be, because it is coming and I do want to be ready. Thank you for listening. Peace.